First, this week's one-on-one in 10 with Make It 16 spokesperson Lincoln Jones. Kia ora, comrade. Welcome to the show and thank you for being available to the Fourth Estate. Your democracy is grateful.
No, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Lincoln, you were Willie Jackson's youth MP. Can you please reflect upon last week's youth parliament and the allegations of censorship by some? The Ministry of Youth Development asked for changes to many of the youth MPs' speeches, ostensibly because youth MPs aren't covered for defamation, but none of the examples of edits that I saw came even close to defamation. Why do you think those changes were asked by the ministry?
Look, when you invite 143 young people down to Wellington to talk about New Zealand's democracy and issues that are currently facing us as rangatahi, but also the communities that we came to Wellington to represent, there were going to be views from all sides of the House, and they were going to cross party lines. Youth Parliament is supposed to be non-partisan, but it is a political space. And so I think from the Ministry of Youth Development, there may have been some fear around possibly what us as rangatahi were going to say, who we were going to call out, what systems we were going to challenge. But fundamentally, we believe as youth MPs, that was the whole point we were put there.
Sure.
We're supposed to challenge, policies. We're supposed to challenge what's going on and what's affecting us at the moment. So, yeah, I think it was a bit of a shock to the system knowing that a large consensus of us were censored in a way.
Other youth MPs argued you were wrong to take offence and that there was no censorship. What would you say to them?
Look, we've heard the argument, but from what we've seen and what we've faced is that it was almost every second speech that may have been opposing, even subtly, I guess, any policies or government agendas currently were edited or tweaked to be neutral, to have no fact and no opinion. It was kind of like, what are we allowed to talk about? There were examples of speeches that were maybe in favour of current policies or government agendas that were, I guess, less censored than ones opposing. So I think, yeah, it depended on who you were representing to the degree that kind of the censorship, I guess, affected you. Yeah.
Put aside whether or not the ministry's email to you was an attempt to water down criticism of the government. Put that aside. The live stream was cancelled. The ability for minority voices to have policy input was cancelled. And you couldn't clap or walk out, which might not be direct censorship, but it's certainly not championing free speech for young people, is it?
Yeah, and that's how we felt with the cancellation of the live stream. It sent a very clear message to us as rangatahi, as youth MPs, that they want to control the narrative that got out to the general public and to the media. If someone spoke against, I guess, what the Ministry of Youth Development wanted us to say, then that could be bad press for the current government. And I think by not having a live stream, that eliminated any potential sort of anything going wrong. And it's the same thing with no clapping. I mean, as young people, when we heard something that we liked, we still clapped anyway, but the no walkouts, which to an extent is understandable. We want to be, everyone is there to represent their opinion. That's the whole point of us being there, representing our views, the views of our community. So we need to give everyone the opportunity to be heard. But no walkouts when there are extremist views being presented and extremist views that do offend a large amount of people within the House, then I think a walkout is necessary. It's sending a clear message that we're not going to sit here and listen to people being belittled for no reason. So yeah, it was another form of, I guess, what you could call micro censorship. But it felt really unfair to us as youth MPs. The experience that has happened for years and years, the same program, the same way it's run, had changed for us, and with little to no explanation at all.
Why is it important to have young people's voices in Parliament?
Because I guess to put it simply, we exist, we are here, and we are ready. Rangatahi, just because we're young doesn't mean that our voices matter any less than I guess the adults at the table. We need to be heard because it is going to be the world that we inherit. The policies that are being implemented and talked about and debated on today will be the ones that ultimately affect us. And so we need to be there, we need to be heard, and we need to challenge those ideas, those systems to ensure that we are creating a world that is I guess, has rangatahi at its center because as time goes on, we get older and we're going to be at that table. So it's that natural progression kind of thing.
Climate change is a reality 16 and 17-year-olds face the ramifications of more than older people. Do you think lowering the vote would force political parties to take climate change more seriously if there were votes in it for them?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, at 16, we can work full time. We pay tax. We can drive. We can even be held criminally responsible, but
Yeah.
we can't vote. And that's not just unfair, but it is undemocratic. And we are deeply affected by decisions on things like climate, but not only climate, like housing, education, and mental health. And we have no say in, I guess, the people making those decisions. If we're old enough to contribute, we're old enough to have a voice. And I think that's fundamentally what it comes down to because yeah, those issues like climate change, like housing, like education, it will affect us and it will affect the future generations, not the people I guess in the short term it'll affect the people that are there right now, but if we're thinking long term, it is us that that take the brunt of I guess the impact. Yeah.
What do you say to adults who claim 16-year-olds aren't mature enough to vote?
Well, uh I guess why is anyone else? Like it if
I know lots of adults
what
who aren't mature enough to vote, trust me.
exactly. And I know 16 and 17-year-olds who, are arguably maybe more informed about politics than MPs sitting in the House.
Right?
We may be more informed than, 70 and 80-year-olds that have the right to vote. I don't think the argument that we're too young or we're too immature, we don't understand is invalid because we do. And like I said, we're doing all the things that adults are doing. We can work full time, we can pay tax, we can drive, we can do all those things.
Mm.
So I think there is a level of maturity, but I understand that a lot of people have fear around allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote because we're uneducated. But that's why we're saying we want there to be civics education as well, because it's really important that
Yes.
as we continue to bring rangatahi through the schooling system that they understand democracy, they understand how Aotearoa works, and I guess yeah, all the democratic workings that go with our country. So that is how we will continue to create informed voters and to kind of eliminate that fear of uneducated young people, voting for all the left wing parties. We educate people on our democracy. And I guess in terms of that argument that by allowing 16, 17-year-olds to vote, that we'll see a spike in votes for left-wing parties. We saw in youth parliament firsthand how us rangatahi in our views reflects the same as the current general population.
Mm.
We're no different. Um, we saw that with the views expressed across all sides of the House. There were views from many different political parties. So it's not going to sway elections. It's not going to do anything like that. It is just going to strengthen our democracy and ensure that those voting habits are built young,
Yep.
they're built early, and they continue to grow.
You want to lower the voting age to 16. I want to cap it at
Mm.
70. Why should New Zealand lower the voting age to 16? How will expanding the universal franchise make us a better democracy, do you think?
Um, I guess it kind of comes down to 3 points. Uh, kind civic habits, and I,
Mm.
I just talked about
Yep.
that. Voting early builds democratic engagement.
It
At the
does. It
moment,
does.
21-year-olds, when you turn 18, we're not too keen to vote at the moment. And then by the time we're 21, people are like, oh, why does it matter to us? There's data and there's evidence that shows us that. So by building that habit young, by teaching it in schools and reinforcing it, by allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote, we create that civic habit, that right that we have to be able to vote for those who are representing us. And 16 and 17-year-olds are more politically aware
Mm.
today than ever. We're
Mm.
not asking for a favor, we're demanding fairness. And the Supreme Court ruled that, it is our human right. We are allowed to have that human right to vote.
Yeah.
And many other countries have done this, and we're just following in those footsteps.
Mm.
Aotearoa is a leader. We have led in
Mm.
so many different areas, like championing the woman's right to vote. Let's do this with rangatahi voices. Austria, Scotland, Wales, they've already done that.
Mm.
It's time that Aotearoa catches up. We're going to catch up and we're going to do it as well.
Young people are facing employment challenges and a lot of mental health issues. We don't have a youth problem in New Zealand. We have an adult problem, don't we? Are we too hard on
Mm.
young people in this country?
I think that on young people, we need to be fair. We need to understand that sometimes a lot of these issues that young people are facing are because of the systems that created them. And if we have no
Yeah.
say in how those systems affect us and how they are shaped, then of course it is going to continue to perpetuate those systemic injustices. And yeah, I think sometimes in some cases we are too harsh on our rangatahi. We need to not look at rangatahi as the problem. We need to look at what is causing those issues and how we can put things in place to defer those issues, but also to eliminate those barriers. It's about building rangatahi up, not,
Tearing them
giving
down.
them yeah, and
Yeah.
giving them, and when we're giving rangatahi a seat at the table, we're not just putting them there for show. We're not ticking a box. We are meaningfully engaging with them and getting rangatahi voice out there because that is the only way that we, I guess, see any change for our rangatahi in terms of statistics, in terms
Yeah.
of those systemic injustices and those outcomes that aren't equitable.
Finally, you have experienced youth parliament. Do you think it's motivated you to get into politics?
Oh, 100%. Uh, if anything, it motivated me even more. I've always kind of had the idea that politics is maybe something on the cards for me in the future, but after attending youth parliament, I know that I want to be able to get out there to represent rangatahi, but also to represent communities across Aotearoa because it's really, really important that we bring more views into parliament, that broaden, I guess, the outcomes that governments and parliament are making for us normal people outside of Parliament. So yes, it definitely has even furthermore encouraged me to aim for that in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, comrade. Good luck to you and your future.
Thank you.
Kia ora.